مرحبا 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 مرحبا.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah khair for inviting me. I thank Mawlana Shah for asking me. He asked me last year as well, but it was difficult. But Alhamdulillah, this year it was a bit easier. I just came from Glasgow. There was a gathering, but just left about just after 7 o'clock. And some of you might have heard of Talib al-Habib. It's a Nasheed person, but he's also a scholar, Shaikh Dr. Asim, the doctor by profession. And he'd come up with his daughters, and his daughter's 16 years old, and she's written an original Mawlid in English. It's the first time anyone has ever written this in the English language. So we have a tradition where from the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when the Arabs used to attack the Prophet ﷺ through poetry, the Prophet ﷺ asked one of his companions, Hussain bin Thabit, he said, stand and defend me. And so Hassan used to defend the Prophet ﷺ through poetry and used to praise him. So this is the origin of what we call qasida or call naat. Okay, this is from the Sahaba. And then we also know that Sayyidina Ali used to write poetry, used to compose poetry, and then they used to recite poetry in their gatherings. We know scholars like Imam Shafi'i also wrote poetry. And then what happened is throughout the centuries, scholars have written poetry in praise of the Prophet ﷺ. We have scholars like Ibn Kathir, who's famous for his tafsir of Quran. He's actually written in Arabic a Mawlid, which is basically all the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ's birth, and he put it together into a poem form. And likewise, we have the Qasida Burda, which many have heard is very famous, has been done in different languages. It's the most widely read poem in Islamic history, all about the Prophet ﷺ. And you guys probably know the story of Qasida Burda. I don't need to go into that. You go to YouTube, you can find it readily available, inshallah. But my point is that our tradition, we have a tradition of writing poetry in Arabic, in Urdu, Farsi, whatever language it is. And it's now time that we start doing this in the English language. So when I spoke to him, he said it's the first time anybody has written this in the English language. And she's only 16 years old. Born and brought up here. Well, she was born in South Africa, but basically she wasn't born in like a Muslim country. Okay, just like any of us. So she wrote it when she was 15, but it just got printed now. So that shows you what happens when the parents instill the love of the Prophet ﷺ into their children. Right? That's the type of children you get. You know, you get people now. They come to you, Shaykh. My son is 16 years old. Doesn't listen to me. What should I do? I said, you should have come to me 16 years ago. It's too late now. 16 years. You know, it's a big part of his life has passed. All the traits, the personality has been established. Where were you 16 years ago to ask for guidance of how you should bring up that child? And so, when we gather, okay, we gather for many things. We gather for many things. Social events, weddings, okay. Now you have these, you know, like charity dinners. Everyone goes, 300 people, 400 people, no problem. If you say to people, come round to my house, let's have pizza and watch a film, no problem. So if we can gather for all these different social events, what about gathering for the sake of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? How much more important is that? And how much more effort should we be making for that? Where the Quran tells us, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, that surely in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is your example. He is your example. And if he is our example, how are we supposed to follow him if we do not know him? How are we supposed to love him if we do not know him? How can you love somebody you don't know? So that's why it's very important, these type of gatherings, the point is to connect you with your Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and is to encourage you to go away and to learn. Okay, to learn, read the seerah, read the life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Pick up a book in Shama'il. Shama'il is the, it focuses on how the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was physically, what was his physical attributes, how did he look, and also internally, how was his character. So if you want to know how the Prophet ﷺ was when he was angry, when the Prophet ﷺ, how was his humility, when the Prophet ﷺ joked, how did he joke, all these things that we need to know so that we can know what the prophetic character is. You'll find books like Shama'il, and these are readily available in English. You can get The Perfect Man, very recent book, Our Master Muhammad ﷺ by Imam Abdullah Siraj, a Syrian scholar. I teach it in Glasgow. These are modern books. You've got classical books. Qadi Iyad's got a book, Shifa, has been translated to English. You can read these yourself. One day, the Prophet ﷺ was talking to Umar radiallahu anhu, and Umar said to the Prophet ﷺ that I love you, Ya Rasulullah, I love you more than everything apart from myself. And the Prophet ﷺ said that your Iman is not complete. Your Iman is not complete until you love me more than yourself. Now Umar didn't need a lecture, he didn't need to study 3 books in Seerah. He just thought for a moment and straight away he said, Ya Rasulullah, now you're more beloved to me than even myself. And this was the Sahaba. The Sahaba just needed one word. There's one hadith, you know, Abdullah ibn Umar, the Prophet said he's a good person, only but if he could only do the night prayer, the tahajjud, he'd be even better. He heard that once, he never left it for the rest of his life. And that's the difference between the Sahaba and us. They would hear something once and that's it. We need reminder after reminder after reminder, and we still don't change our ways. And this is the difference. So it's very important that you understand the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his status. After Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, the next person in your life in terms of relationship is the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He is more important than your mother, more important than your father. More important than your mother, more important than your father. The Prophet said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده ووالده والناس أجمعين. That none of you will truly believe until I become more beloved to you than your father, your son, and all of mankind. So the question is, do we love the Prophet ﷺ more than anything in creation apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I'm asking you guys a question. Because if you say you do, where's the evidence? A man says to his wife, I love you, but he doesn't listen to her, he doesn't treat her nicely, he doesn't give her anything. What kind of love is that? Right? If he says he loves her, how is she going to judge that love? Through the way he treats her. That he gives her gifts, he thinks about her. That indicates that he loves her. But if he just says, I love you, and then he's hitting her and he's abusing her, that's not love. So when we talk about the Prophet ﷺ, some of us, and really think about this, some of us know more about footballers, actors, than we do about the Prophet ﷺ. If I ask you, what were the names of the children of the Prophet ﷺ? I'm not going to ask you to answer that question. I asked this question in university. I was teaching Seerah. Not a single person could answer. I said, who are the children of, what was his name, Beckham? They all knew. I said, you know the children of Beckham? It was a posh spice. You know their children, but you don't know the children of the Prophet. This person is not even a Muslim. And this is the problem that we've got. This is the problem that we've got. Is that when we say the Prophet is our example, we're talking but we're not actualizing it. It's not in our, it's just talk. It's just talk. And you will not be successful until you love the Prophet more than you love everybody. until you know more about him than you know more about everyone. People read books, you know, this some famous person who's very, very successful in business or something. Everybody wants to know the reason for success. They go and buy his book, writes an autobiography. Politicians are known for this. So people read Nelson Mandela's book, oh, so inspiring. This book, that book. Have you read the Prophet's book? Have you read a book of the Seerah? Have you read a book of Shama'il? Do you know your Prophet? And unfortunately, the answer is, many of us don't. You know the Prophet one day, they used to have a member. In a Jummah you have a member. He used to use a date palm tree, right, a stump. And then the Sahaba said, you know, we should make a new member. So they made a new member, and he only moved a few steps away. And as he was doing the khutbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted everybody to hear, so the crying of the date palm stump was heard by everybody. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it known, everyone could hear it. And the Prophet came down from his member because he's rahmatan lil alameen. He's a mercy for all of mankind, not just human beings. He came down for the stump, for the sake of the stump. He came down and he hugged the stump. And you know, like a baby cries, it cries and then it does this and it slowly calms down. That's exactly what the stump did. And only when it became silent did the Prophet leave it. And he spoke to it as well. He said, how about if you're a tree in the trees of paradise? Only a few steps away and the stump starts crying. One narration it said the tree would have kept crying until the day of judgment had the Prophet not come down and held it. Why did it cry? Because it could not bear the Prophet being a few footsteps away from it. How distant have we come from the Prophet? How many nights have you cried? This stump, a few steps and it started crying, wailing, as if someone's died. How much has the Prophet left our lives and we don't even think about it? Maulana Shah was talking about smiling. The Prophet, one of the Sahaba said, I did not see anyone smile more than the Prophet. Smiling is a sunnah. It's now taught in, you know, when they tell you, they teach about business or they teach about communication skills, they talk about rapport building. Okay, mirror and matching, they talk about rapport building. So mirror is basically you kind of, you know, mirror matching basically. So if the person's doing this, you start doing that as well. It builds rapport, okay? And you smile, and automatically, try this with anyone, you smile, and the other person will smile back. It's contagious. It makes you feel happy, it makes you feel good. I said to something, you know, some people say to me, yeah, I'm not a scholar, I don't know much about Islam. I said, can you smile? Can you smile? And let me see if you can. Can you guys smile? There's a few people still not smiling. Why are you not smiling? Smile. Okay. That is a sunnah of your Prophet. So if you can't do anything, at least revive this one sunnah of smiling. And I guarantee you, people will change just because you smile. I was teaching a da'wah course. I was talking about the importance of smiling. A girl said to me, she said at university many years ago, she said a man came up to me in university, another student, and he asked me, she goes, I was on the phone, she wore a hijab, and the guy said, what, I want to speak to you. She goes, yeah. And he goes, why do you smile? She said, you know, I'm just happy, and you know, I'm a Muslim and so on. He said, I'm depressed, but every time I've seen you in university, you've always been smiling, and I want what you've got. She never spoke to him, she never mentioned any Quran, she never mentioned the Hadith. She never spoke to this guy, but straight away it had an effect. Everything from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ has an effect on people. Everything. Whether it's physical, whether it's internal. Every single thing of the Sunnah has an effect on people. So don't be surprised when they do scientific research and they feel a benefit. I read this article on BBC, it was talking about if you put some sugar gel in a baby's mouth when it's born, it prevents a certain disease. Prophet, you know, we know the Sunnah of Tahniq, right? The Prophet used to take a date and put it in the baby's mouth. One brother said to me, he said, I'm going to start fasting 2 days a week. And I said, because Sunnah? He said, well, I was watching this program, and you know, you must have heard of the 5-2 diet. If you're overweight, you've probably heard of it, right? Because it's very famous. So the 5-2 diet, basically this guy, Michael Mosley, is a doctor. He tries all these different diets to see which one's the best for your health. And he came to the conclusion that if you, 2 days in the week, if you eat, I think, 600 calories for 2 days in the week, this is the best for your health. proven scientifically. And so he said, I'm going to start fasting 2 days a week. Mecca, it's a shame that Michael Mosley had to come and prove it. Muslims loved it. Beautiful, brilliant. Now they can't live without them. In fact, there was even an argument they should make it the national dish of the country because people eat it so much. Have a diet. He said, had they brought Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would accept him. So, this is something for us to think about. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, when somebody comes to you and helps you in your hour of need, say everyone turned away from you, okay? So you had £50,000 debt. You went to this person, said no, this person said no, this person said no. Everybody says no. One person says to you, you know something, come here, hugs you, and says, this £50,000, give me whenever you want. How would you feel? You would say, whatever you ever, any time in my life you need me, just call me and I'll do whatever you want. Because you will never forget that. You will never forget that favour. Is that true, isn't it? You would feel indebted to that person. And you'd always remember that. You'd probably make dua for that person. There's going to come a day in your life. There's going to come a day in your life. Your own mother and father will not want to know you. The same people that you're willing to die for, on the day of judgment, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. He'll run away from his brother, he'll run away from his mother, he'll run away from his father. On the day of judgment, not a single person is going to come to your aid apart from one person. Who's that person? Who's not going to think about himself, he's going to say, Ummati, Ummati. My ummah, my ummah. He's going to say to you, Allah, my ummah. What about my ummah? That day when you need him the most, he's going to be there for you. So where are you for him? There's going to come a day that he's going to be there for you. Where are you for him? You know, the majority of the people of paradise is from the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. 2/3 of the people in Jannah are from the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. He's going to intercede for all of mankind. When they come in the beginning, ask for intercession. They're going to come to Adam. They're going to be waiting for the judgment and it's not going to commence. They're going to go to Adam. He says, I'm not for it. Go to next prophet. They're going to go to the next prophet and so on until it comes to the Prophet. He says, I am for it. And then the Prophet ﷺ, in the hadith in Tirmidhi, goes into sajda. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Irfa' nasik. Lift your head. Sal tu'ta. Ask and it will be given you. Shafa' to shafa'. Intercede and your intercession will be granted. And so the Prophet ﷺ, some of his ummah will be entering the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ will intercede and he will prevent them from going to the hellfire. Some of the ummah will be in the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ will intercede and take them out of hellfire. He's going to be there for you. What are you doing for him? How much do you pray in the Prophet ﷺ? How much do you remember the Prophet ﷺ? Where is he in your life? You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, with the best of nations. كُنْتُمْ خَيْرُ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ. You're the best of people. Are we the only believers? No. There's been believers from the time of Adam alayhi salam. So what makes you special? Is anything special about you or me? Nothing special about me and you. However, the only difference is, some believers are connected to Nuh alayhi salam, some are connected to Isa alayhi salam, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained you to be connected to the best of all creation. Because you're connected to the Prophet ﷺ, that's why you're the best of ummahs. Because his status was so high with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his whole ummah status was raised. That's why the certain things we have in our sharia, they're like a gift. In the past, ummahs, they had to struggle a lot, they had to do ibadah for years and years and years. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our ummah gives us simple things. So for example, Laylatul Qadr, one night is better than 1,000 months. These are all things that are given to the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. You know the Sahaba, they loved the Prophet ﷺ so much. There's an incident with one Sahabi, and what happened was he'd been caught in Makkah. They were in Medina, he'd been caught in Makkah, and they were torturing him. And they said to him that, would you wish that the Prophet ﷺ was in your place and you were free to be with your family? He said, by Allah, he said, for me to be in this torture is better than the Prophet being pricked by even a thorn. And that's when Abu Sufyan said, he said, I've seen kings, I've seen all sorts of people, but I've never seen anyone love anyone like the Ashab of the Prophet love the Prophet. And he'd been everywhere, but he'd never seen that type of love. In one battle, there was a woman, her father, her brother, her son all got killed. When she was told about this, your male relatives have been killed, she says, is the Prophet okay? Think about it. For a woman, a father, a son, a brother, all killed, and her response is the Prophet okay? And she said, I'm not satisfied, show me him. They took her, when she saw him, she said, okay, now that I've seen him, I can take any difficulty in life is okay for me. This is how much they loved the Prophet. Michael Hart, you know Michael Hart is a non-Muslim. He wrote a book called The 100, and he looked at historical figures and he ranked them according to how much influence they've had on humanity, and he put the Prophet as one, number one. So, you know the moon. The moon, when's the moon full? When it's completely facing the sun. And the more it turns away, you see less and less of the moon. So the degree of the moon's completion is conditional on how much is facing the sun. So the more we face the source of perfection, the Prophet ﷺ, the more complete we're going to be. And lastly, just to finish off, this gathering which we have in Rabi al-Awwal, which is a month the Prophet ﷺ was born, some people say, oh, to single it out on the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal, which is, again, there's different opinion, but most scholars of the opinion that was the day the Prophet was born, that is somehow blameworthy. It's somehow not permissible, or even worse, as an innovation. So I'm going to share what Imam Suyuti rahimahullah says in one of his books, Al-Hawif al-Fatar. He says, the answer according to me is as follows. To commemorate the Mawlid, which is basically gathering people together, reciting parts of Quran, narrating stories about the Prophet ﷺ's birth and signs that is accompanied with it, then serving food and afterwards departing, is one of the good innovations. And the one who practices it gets reward because it involves venerating the status of the Prophet ﷺ and expressing joy for his honourable birth. The Suyuti then goes on and says, someone asked Ibn Hajar, this is Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, his book on Sahih Bukhari, Fath al-Bari, is the most widely read commentary on Sahih Bukhari. Every student of knowledge is going to have this book, from every sect. You go to their library, they'll have Fath al-Bari, okay, commentary in Bukhari. So someone asked Ibn Hajar about commemorating the Mawlid. Ibn Hajar answered. He said, as for the origin of a practice of commemorating the Prophet's birth, it is an innovation, bid'ah, that has not been yet conveyed to us from any of the pious early Muslims of the first 3 centuries, despite which it has been included both features that are praiseworthy and features that are not. If one takes care to include in such a commemoration only things that are praiseworthy and avoids those that are otherwise, is a praiseworthy innovation. Well, if one does not, it is not. An authentic primary textual basis for which its legal validity is inferable has occurred to me, namely the rigorously authentic Sahih hadith in the collection of Bukhari and Muslim that the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina and found the Jews fasting on the 10th of Muharram, Ashura. So he asked about it and they replied, it's the day on which Allah drowned Pharaoh and rescued Moses. So we fast in it to thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which indicates the validity of giving thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessings He has bestowed on a particular day in providing a benefit and averting an affliction. Repeating one's thank on the anniversary of that day every year, giving thanks to Allah takes any various forms of worship such as prostrating, fasting, giving charity or reciting the Quran. As-Suyuti then further writes, then what blessing is greater than the birth of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet of mercy on this day? The Prophet ﷺ's birth was the most amazing day in our history, because that changed everything. You know, in some of the Mawlid you read that the time of darkness stopped and the time of light had come because the Prophet ﷺ had come. You know, one thing I find very strange is that Independence Day, no one says anything. 11th of November, 1 minute silence, no one says anything. You know, commemorating other things, our masjid's 10 years old, oh no, let's have a celebration, no problem. Anything else, right, there's not a problem, but the Prophet ﷺ getting together to remember the Prophet ﷺ was all of a sudden an issue. So, someone asked a scholar, very famous Egyptian scholar, he said, is it allowed to praise the Prophet ﷺ? And he said, are you Christian or a Jew? In other words, a Muslim would ask a question like that. He goes, are you a Christian or a Jew? What religion are you? What kind of stupid question is that? Can you praise the Prophet ﷺ? When he himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises him, then his name, what does his name mean? Muhammad, the praised one. Ahmad, and the hereafter his name is Ahmad, the most praised one. His name is the praised one. So if you're not going to praise him, then what's the point of having that name? Obviously, you praise the Prophet ﷺ. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the love of the Prophet in our hearts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put his sunnah, his outward sunnah in our lives, his inward sunnah in our lives. May he revive our connection with the Prophet ﷺ. May he make our status with the Prophet ﷺ in the hereafter. The Sahaba one day asked the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, in the hereafter, you're going to be in the highest abodes of paradise. We're going to be in the bottom. How are we going to see you? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-mar'u ma'a man hab. That a person will be with the one who he loves. So we're all sinners, we're all deficient. But if we can love the Prophet ﷺ, actualize it in our lives, then we have a great hope of being with him in the hereafter, in the paradise. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give every single one of us that, and also our families and everybody connected to us. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslim kathir. Alhamdulillah wa jazakallah khair for listening to me.
مرحبا 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 مرحبا